Ladies and gentlemen, manene na manenekazi, bontate libomme, bamanana na batatana, bafumakazi na banna, dame seniere. Indeed, this is our new normal. Like last year 2020, here we meet again on this virtual platform, marking the historic 30th International African Writers' Day, 7th November, where South African authors occupy center stage. It is instructive, ladies and gentlemen, that the Wright Associates, the founders of the South African Literary Awards, chose the International African Writers' Day to honor South African writers annually in celebration and recognition of the declaration of then OAU's Conference of African Ministers of Education and Culture of the 7th November as the International African Writers' Day, to afford the African people a moment of pause within which to reflect on the contribution of African writer to the development of the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, SALA, in partnership with the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, have honored this commitment since 2005, and it is my singular privilege to welcome you all this evening as we celebrate the 16th edition of these prestigious awards, where the 2021 finalists will be announced. And this, ladies and gentlemen, call for that special moment we are all here for, celebrating all our shortlistees. They are our gems, educators, healers, motivators, archivists, ambassadors, developers, and we say to you all, congratulations. Your contribution is highly appreciated. Wow! Congratulations once again to our 2021 nominees. Ladies and gentlemen, it will be remiss of us not to acknowledge the unfortunate demise of some of our authors since we met last year. We thus wish to take a moment of silence before we get into the thick of the program to recognize and pay homage to all in our country and the world who succumbed to COVID-19 and other causes. Amongst those, we would like to single out the novelist and multidisciplinary artist, Mr. Phumlani Pikoli, who passed away on the 11th of April 2021, shortly after he was awarded the SALA Casey Lodeker Memorial Award in 2020. Please join us as we observe a moment of silence. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the main opening of the evening. Please welcome on stage the man behind the establishment of the South African Literary Awards, the Managing Director of the Wright Associates, and the founder of the South African Literary Awards, Mr. Siakwa. Please welcome on stage, sir.
My name is Marakabe Siakwa. As the program director has already introduced me, as the project director of the South African Literary Awards. Fresh from celebrating 15 years of epoch-making existence, of celebrating and promoting South Africa's literary talent, this year, in 2021, the South African Literary Awards, SALA, is deepening her reach by adding the following categories: regional and local poets laureate prizes. This brings the overall SALA categories to 16. That is the Children's Literature Award, Youth Literature Award, First Time Published Author Award, Casey Lodeker Memorial Award. And at this stage, I would want to acknowledge and welcome the family of the late Casey Lodeker and Tate Limme Deker Liluku, who have joined us online. Thank you very much, as well as the rest of us. The following award is Poetry, and Nadine Gorima Short Story Award, Creative Non-Fiction Award, Literary Award, the Literary Translators Award, the Literary Journalism Award, Novel Award, Posthumous Literary Award, the Chairperson's Literary Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, National Poet Laureate Prize, Regional Poet Laureate Prize, and of course, as we said also, the local Poet Laureate Prize, that one to be announced next year, 2022. From inception, it has always been the aim of SALA to acknowledge, preserve, and honor South African writers and their work, appreciate and promote South Africa's languages, particularly the indigenous languages, and promote and cultivate the culture of reading and writing in our society. Having started with just one category, the South African National Poet Laureate Prize in 2005. To date, SALA has boasts 14, or rather 16 categories, as we said earlier, in all our languages, official South African languages. SALA has also produced the following legacy programs, consisting academic and community development flagship projects. The first one, which we had earlier today, is the Africa Century International African Writers Conference. The second one is the Miriam Tladi Reading and Book Club. That one came as our honor to Miriam Tladi, the first black woman to publish a novel in South Africa. The third is the National Poet Laureate program. And now that we're going to announce tonight the Regional Poet Laureate, the program is also going to extend to that level. Founded by the Right Associates in partnership with the National Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in 2005, the main aim of the South African Literary Awards is to pay tribute to South African writers who have distinguished themselves as groundbreaking producers and creators of literature, while it celebrates literary excellence in the depiction and sharing of South Africa's histories, value systems, and philosophies and art as inscribed and preserved in all the languages of South Africa, particularly the official languages. The South African Literary Awards continue to become the most prestigious and respected literary accolades in the South African literary landscape. It is my honor at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce the Director General of the Department of Arts and Culture, Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. As we said right at the beginning, they have been with us from the beginning, and we're going to be with them, inshallah, tomorrow and tomorrow. The DG, Comrade DG Gusmuzi Mkize. Welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, Managing Director of the Rights Associates, Mr. Morakabe Prarax Siakwa for the introduction. I appreciate that. Program Director, Dr. Msimang, Chairperson of SALA Board, Professor Zodwa Motsa, and her fellow board members. Managing Director of the Right Associates, Mr. Morakabe Siakwa, the Managing Manager of the South African Literary Awards, Ms. Sindiswa Siakwa, Professor Pauline Wenkabula, Principal and Vice Chancellor, of UNISA, one of the first, as we heard this this day, about priding ourselves about the firsts of a woman in more than 100 years of an existence of such an institution. Dr. Santem Tenje and Mr. Eugene Steve, Professors Wesilim Sila and Marie Chaliat, members of the media, distinguished guests, and audiences across South Africa and abroad who are able to be part of this evening. Good evening. Today we celebrate the 16th South African Literary Awards on International African Writers' Day. This is an important occasion on our national literary calendar as we pay tribute to the creative writers of South Africa for a job well done and books well written. Recognition can only inspire one to do more. And therefore, to the organizers of the awards have indicated that South African literature is making strides and that many interesting books have to be adjudicated. The strides made are despite the difficult conditions under which we find ourselves as South Africans and people of the world since the advent of COVID-19. This past week, we also received a great accolade for African literature in general and South African literature in particular, with the awarding of the Booker Prize to Damon Galgut for a novel that tells the story of decades of South African life under apartheid and reveals the unfinished songs of our history. This year's epochal occasion also coincides with the bestowal of the Nobel Prize for Literature on one of Africa's leading novelists and academics, Tanzanian Professor Abdul Razak Gurnah. This is what we have to say as we quote upon the receipt of this distinguishing recognition, that for his uncompromising and compassionate penetration of the effects of colonialism and the fates of the refugee in the Gulf between cultures and continents. Professor Gurnah's groundbreaking writing also makes Africa proud to be home to 5 Nobel laureates of literature. Program Director, in recent times, the South African Literary Awards, usually held in the evening, is preceded by a full day of conferencing where the Africa Century International African Writers Conference is held. Today was no exception, as luminaries gathered to look at the state of literature on the African continent under the theme, Decolonizing Africa's Literature Heritage, literally heritage, debunking myths, a look to the future. This year, 2021, have seen the African Union and the United Nations, a conference on trade and development, adopt the themes of the AU Year of the Arts, Culture and Heritage, levers for building the Africa we want. And in the case of UNCTAD, International Year of Creative Economy and Sustained Development, respectively. Therefore, the theme of this 9th African Century Conference probes the journey towards the decolonization of our literary heritage, even as we explore the challenges presented by coronavirus pandemic to communities of the world, especially also to Africa. In embracing this theme, we are reminded of the writings of an illustrious author, Professor Ngoke Wathiongo, who has written widely on matters of decolonization. He has spoken of the need to decolonize literary practice and emphasize the importance of literature written in indigenous languages. This makes us more excited about the SALA Awards as it recognizes multiple indigenous languages of this country. So in an essay, The Writer in a Changing Society, he tells us that a writer responds, as I quote, with his total personality to a social environment which changes all the time. Being a kind of sensitive needle, he registers, maybe I can say now, he or she registers with varying degrees of accuracy and success the conflicts and tensions in his changing society. Thus, the same writer will produce different types of work, sometimes contradictory in mood, sentiment, degree of optimism, and even
recording in progress.
For the writer himself lives in and is shaped by history, I close quote. So it is these inextricable linkages with history and the need to free ourselves from the shackles of the past and rethink cultural and literary production that preoccupied the speakers in this morning's literary engagement. But everyone, I think, would agree that as we confront our history and the legacy of colonialism and apartheid, and as we build anew, we must do the same knowledge and insight that Frantz Fanon had when he wrote towards the end of The Wretched of the Earth. And I quote, "Let us not pay tribute to Europe by creating states, institutions, and societies which draw their inspiration. Humanity is waiting for something other from us than such an imitation, which would be almost an obscene caricature. But if we want humanity to advance a step further, if we want to bring it up to a different level than that which Europe has shown it, then we must invent and we must make discoveries for Europe, for ourselves, and for humanity. Comrades, we must turn over a new leaf. We must work out new concepts and try to set afoot a new man," close quote. And I would like to add his sentence or rewrite it in the following manner: for ourselves and for humanity, comrades and compatriots, let us set afoot a new man and a new woman. The importance of building something new has always been the preoccupation of writers and intellectuals who embrace those who influence them in what is sometimes called the anxiety of influence. But the same writers, after they have learned from the workings of the past, then take what they need from history into the future and offer a critique of society, of the economy to create something new. Their insights enable us to develop our cultural imaginary, to craft new manifestos of belonging, and to work towards the future with workable plans, blueprints that can guide us, that first existed as thoughts that emerged from writers' pen conscious and in tune with the needs and mood of our people. It is this engagement that we try to continue to embrace in our daily lives and in the world we do to support the literary endeavors of our authors. So in this current climate, creativity must become the order of the day as we rethink and reshape our lives, restore, revolutionize, and renew our economic and social development and expand the cultural imaginary of our people. As government, we are playing our part through our work in shaping a recovery plan for the sector together with stakeholders. We are crafting a master plan for the cultural and creative sector which will ensure that the needs of publishers and writers and the appetites of readers are also addressed. We are aware of the concerns on the copyright and performance bills and believe that these can be addressed moving forward as government work towards their finalization. As we are aware, fellow South Africans, that this copyright amendment bill and the performance protection are currently in Parliament for finalization after they were referred back by His Excellency the President due to constitutional concerns that needed to be addressed. However, Parliament is going to be back and make sure that this copyright amendment bill, as well as the performance protection bills, indeed finally get accented to for the protection of our creatives. We are working hard in finalizing a strategy to build a national literary culture that encompasses a strong reading and writing culture. We are putting in place a team to take forward and finalize book development policy guided by the revised white paper review. And we are also exploring literally digital content and its implications. We too have been saddened by the demise of the South African Book Development Council, but over many years, we have assisted with support for their projects. In the past 4 years alone, we have provided 16 million rands in funding support. However, given the changing times of COVID-19 and the impact of their sector on the sector, they felt the need to close shop as they were no longer a going concern. However, this needs to change, for without literature and books, the country is doomed. We need intellectual guidance and expertise of all the authors and writers, the publishers, who work together to ensure that at the end of the day, we've got high quality content of books, whether it be fiction or non-fiction. We have replaced and transformed what had been a more sporadic approach by others to bolster reading for leisure into a full-blown National Book Month held in October with greater community participation. We are offering dedicated support to publishers and authors for completion of their books. We have 10 books currently supported through this initiative by the Books and Publishing Division in the department, and we are working towards the establishment of a reading hub. We also have a number of partnership projects that support literary endeavors, including the South African Literary Awards. We are currently conducting further research through the South African Cultural Observatory on the state of publishing in the country. These are only a few of our interventions. Program Director, I'm positive about the future of South African writing and believe that if we all work together, we shall establish more conducive conditions for increasing local content and for expanding and showcasing our literary endeavors. Finally, I would like to salute the winners and all the finalists of the 16th African Literary Awards and wish all of you a happy International African Writers' Day. May we all celebrate the excellence and the power of a pen through our incomparable writers. Thank you very much, Program Director.
15 years of an epoch-making existence of celebrating and promoting South Africa's literary talent. This year, the South African Literary Awards deepened and broadened her reach by adding 2 more categories: Regional and Local Poets Laureate, with a latter to be announced in 2022. The Regional Poet Laureate to be inaugurated this evening. Oh my God, what is in store for us? Can't wait to get to the announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, and I know you're just as anxious as I am to celebrate the finalists, please let me introduce to you the program director for this evening. This lady is a consummate storyteller with a wealth of multifaceted experience in multimedia and marketing. She has produced content for various radio shows. In recent years, she advanced her talents in user experience design, currently leading design operations at one of our leading banks. She's also an agripreneur, growing vegetables and herbs as well as educating people to grow their own. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Nonkululeko Nonku Britain Masikila.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my utmost pleasure and singular honor to be your program director this evening, a role I do not take lightly or for granted. My name is Nonkululeko Britain Masikila. November the 7th has become the most anticipated day in the South African literary calendar, celebrating the AU declared International African Writers' Day. This is a day when women and men who have distinguished themselves as groundbreaking producers and creators in the literary arts space are celebrated, and we thank the Wright Associates and the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture for the groundbreaking partnership and continued commitment in delivering this historic event. This evening, the stunning Lindiwe Makolo graces our stage.
Like the beat, beat, beat of a tom-tom when the showers sailing fall, like the tick, tick, tock of a Stanley clock as it stands against the wall, like the drip, drip, drip of the raindrops when the summer shower is through. So a voice within me keeps repeating, you, 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 night and day. You are the one, only you, beneath the moon and under the sun, whether near to me or far, it's no matter, darling, where you are. I think of you night and day, day and night. Why is it so that this longing for you follows wherever I go? Oh, in the tropics of the moon, in the silence of my lonely room, I think of you night and day, night and day, under the height of me. There's no such a hungry yearning burning inside of me. Well, there's a lonely traffic boom in the silence of my lonely room. I think of you night and day.
Let's take you straight to the announcement of the finalists for this year's episode. But wait, hang in there just a little bit longer as we receive the declaration of the 2021 awards adjudication process from the independent creditors, or auditors rather, Jacaranda Consulting, represented by Mr. Bramwell Akileng.
The South African Literary Award winners, the Board of SALA, the Management of SALA, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, and the writing community in South Africa and the world, receive our Pan-African greetings. Jacaranda Intellectual Property, who has been entrusted with the enviable task of judging the judges, who read, assess, critique, analyze, and finally decide the winners among the many literary submissions in the various categories, which this year were over 500 books and counting. We are honored to be part of the process to assess the judges and their use of the set criteria, their fairness, impartiality, professionalism, ethics, and more importantly, integrity. Having listened to all the judges' submissions, their debates, reasonings, deliberations in the various categories and why a particular author deserved the winning prize. In this regard, we can pronounce without any hesitation that the process in its entirety and the criteria as set by SALA was well observed. We thank every author who has enriched our lives with their writings. Thank you ever so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the awards this evening. We have the Children's Literature Award, the Youth Literature Award, First Time Published Author Award, the K. Silodeka Memorial Award, Poetry Award, the Medine Godimer Short Story Award, the Creative Nonfiction Award, the Literary Translators Award, the Novel Award, and the Literary Journalism Award. And now for the nominations.
The nominees for the 2021 Children's Literature Award are Keegan and Samir, The Soccer Fiasco by Andre Trantral. The theme of gender equality is relevant even at an early age. The space should be familiar to most children and they can identify with it. Girls can play soccer and become ninjas if they so choose. They are not limited by their gender. Language is at the level of the target audience with a few new words that can easily be learned. The story is told chronologically and can therefore be easily understood at a logical level. The characters are typical children with whom the young readers could easily identify. Children would also be able to identify with the illustrations. The central theme is reinforced on the last page by an outline of a ninja girl that the reader can color. Tinga Magic by Martina Genkova Mpofu. The text in the Tinga Magic is clear and comprehensible for the target audience. The book is easy to read, entertaining and well illustrated. The story promotes living together in peace and highlights the strengths in each individual animal rather than the negatives. Each animal's character is described as the story unfolds, and a detailed description is provided at the end of the story using relatable language. The use of these specific animals, opposed to the commonly known ones in the story, create an interest in the young minds as to what other animals are out there, in addition to what they already know and see on a daily basis. And the winner is Keegan and Samir, The Soccer Fiasco by Andre Trantral.
Dankie vir die SALA toekenning vir Keegan en Samir, Die Soccer Fiasco. Ek is trots op hierdie kinders wat ek op papier gecreëerd het, wat nou al merk maak in die boekenwereld. Die award sê vir my dat Suid-Afrikaanse lesers reg is vir boeke wat 'n wêreld weerspieël wat anders is as die cookie-cutter version. I would like to thank the Wright Associates, who sees our literary heritage as one of their major focus areas. They are the founder and the custodian of the South African Literary Awards, as well as the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, as the strategic partner of SALA since the inception of this prize. I suppose an illustrated children's book about a girl who is a great soccer player ticks all their departmental boxes. Thank you for the prize. It is nice to be recognized for creating the first reader series with just brown children simply going about their day. Soos Keegan se ouma Minnie sou sê, solank jy nou net nie na my kop toe gaan nie.
The nominees for the 2021 Youth Literature Award are Pastor by Jan Vermeulen. Although this book would appeal to all dog lovers, it is much more. It provides a glimpse into township life, complete with dog fighting and a losing battle against cancer. It's a moving novel in which the love between man and animal is depicted. Interesting changes of perspective occur when life is illuminated through the lenses of both man and dog. The Boy and the Poacher's Moon by Pamela Newham. The Boy and the Poacher's Moon narrates an exciting story in which 4 teenagers get involved in rhino poaching. The book is very readable for teenagers and has short, comprehensible chapters. Action proceeds quickly and credibly. Characterization is also credible. The story promotes ethical values in teens and sensitizes them to conservation issues. The book is simple, yet carries a strong message of animal conservation and anti-poaching. Mararankodi Mafelelo by Kubate John Sikili. What is outstanding in this book is its plot. All various aspects are adequately handled. The climax, and in particular, the unraveling of the plot, are very interesting and closely linked to the theme. In this book, a variety of characters are used: the protagonist, the antagonist, and the tritagonist. Minki and Masinyeletsa are corrupt, but their actions eventually pay off. Above all, the author is a nation builder. This is demonstrated vividly by the actions of Masinya and his sweetheart, Minki. They connived to ensure that Minki wins the beauty contest. But alas, what happened? Their actions were uncovered, culminating in the withdrawal of Minki from the contest, while Masinya loses his position as one of the judges. Ngenxa yezinduna by Themba Mabaso. The story is creative and woven to appeal to a specific audience, that is, teenagers, although not completely constrained. Parents interested in knowing how their teenage children navigate issues of acne and bullying at school may be interested. A number of teenagers can identify with the story and learn from it. The main character faced an unsupportive environment, both at school and at home sometimes, as his siblings were not reprimanded by his parents when they laughed or made fun of him. The book is relevant and addresses social issues in a unique and novel way. It is appealing to young people and encourages them to look at the positive side of things and not regard challenges as the end of their goals and dreams. Ubomi Ungancama by Sipho Arkekezwa. It's impressive that the issue of blessers appears in the text and is understood as a form of victimization towards young girls and teenagers by those who have the necessary power, that is, economic power and influence. The book is focused on a wide range of an audience, catering inclusively from old to the young. The language usage that was followed is that of a standardized isiXhosa format, which is very well written with a variety of terms that can be understood by the targeted audience. The author uses slang terms such as inkamkam, which is known to most age groups, referring to government grants. But when focusing on his main target audience, the youth, one would find words like bayasincintsha, jealous down, ukuzijemisela, etc. Ubomi Ungancama by Sipho Arkekezwa. It's impressive that the issue of blessers appears in the text and is understood as a form of victimization towards young girls and teenagers by those who have the necessary power, that is, economic power and influence. Secondly, the author presents patriarchy and the stereotypes that come with it. More often than not, women in isiXhosa literature are depicted in subordinate roles in a male-dominated society. This has been covered thoroughly by the author. Interestingly, the author covers the importance of obeying parents' teachings, thereby opening another discourse regarding the role of parents to children. The book is focused on a wide range of an audience, catering inclusively from old to the young. The language usage that was followed is that of a standardized isiXhosa format, which is very well written with a variety of terms that can be understood by the targeted audience. The author uses slang terms such as inkamkam, which is known to most age groups, referring to government grants. It is worth mentioning that this author does not only connect to his youthful target audience through his writing styles, but also through his character formation that readers can definitely relate to, for they are depicting real-life characters. And the winners are The Boy and the Poacher's Moon by Pamela Newham, Mararankodi Mafelelo by Kubate John Sikili, and Ubomi Ungancama by Sipho Arkekezwa.
Good evening. This is such an honor to receive this award for my book, The Boy and the Poacher's Moon. I really am happy to have it. Thank you, firstly, to the Wright Associates, who are the founders and custodians of the South African Literary Awards, as well as thanks to the Department of Sports, Art and Culture the work that you do in having an award like this that acknowledges South African writers is highly appreciated. Then thanks also to my publishers, Human and Rousseau and NB. Firstly, this book would never have happened without you, and also for all the encouragement, enthusiasm, and support that you've given me in the last few months, which have been a difficult time for all of us. Thank you again for an award that is deeply appreciated.
Bulela ngokungazenzisiyo kwabakwa-Right Associates, kubaqoqozeleli be-South African Literary Awards, isebe lezemidlalo, ubugcisa nenkcubeko nabagwebi ngokuthi banike ithuba lencwadi yam ethi Ubomi Ngancama. Nesigqibo endiqinisekileyo uba besingelula njengoko bebejongene nomsebenzi omkhulu wamangenelo amaninzi. Kubasebenzi baseNazima Isaac Public Library eMakhazi Kapa, ndibamba ngazibini ngoncedo lwabo lweminyaka ngeminyaka endingasoze ndilulibale. Ndiyazi uba impumelelo yam ibenza abazidle ngokuba yinxalenye yeenzame zam. Akukho nto abangayaziyo ngamahlandinyoka endihlangene nawo, kwaye ngaphandle kwabo ngendingazange ndibe ndikule ndawo ndikuyo namhlanje. Kubasebenzi bomzi Center for the Book, enkosi ngokuzilahlela kwenu emsebenzini wenu. Enkosi ngokundithemba, uThixo anesikelele. Ndibulela nakubo bonke bebenegalelo kwimpumelelo yokubhala kwam. Okokugqibela ndibulela kumdali wento zonke ngokundiphefumlela. Kungenjalo incwadi ezifana nale ithi Ubomi Ngancama kunye nezinye ngezingekho.
The nominees for the 2021 First Time Published Author Award are 8 Degrees by Lynthia Julius. The volume 8 Degrees can be regarded as one of the strongest poetical debuts in Afrikaans in recent decades. The author's verses strike the reader on a physical as well as an intellectual level. Julius articulates the female voice of Northern Cape Nama descendants. The volume makes a special contribution to post-colonial feminist literature in Afrikaans and gives voice to Nama women who have been marginalized many times over, even in our modern society. Pink Ceramic Hoinkies by Ryan Pedro. Pink Ceramic Hoinkies is a particularly strong debut. Ryan Pedro writes in a hip-hop style, charged with energy. His Afrikaans is loose and colorful. He pays little attention to poetic conventions, yet his verses are extremely enjoyable and typically performance very musical in nature. The main themes that are touched on are whiteness and identity politics. The contact with white South Africans causes an identity crisis in the speaker, and he tries to define himself within the parameters of traditional masculinity. Ryan is a poet who has a strong, unique voice from whom we have high expectations. Scatterlings by Rishoke Tsuimanenje. Few authors can tell a story set in the early stages of the 20th century and be on point on not only early language, but mannerisms and social etiquette. This is what Manenje achieves in her debut book, which she won the Dinan Debut Fiction Award in 2020. Scatterlings explores racism and its impact in the Union of South Africa, a kind of racism that was not only exclusive to native Africans, but black people from anywhere in the world. Manenje's hard work, character research, and her disarming and penetrative narrative style stand out. And the winners are Scatterlings by Rishoke Tsuimanenje and 8 Degrees by Lynthia Julius.
Hello everyone, I'm very honored to have won this award, and I'd like to start by congratulating my fellow shortlistees. And I'd also just like to thank my publisher, everyone who works at Jacana Media, who has just been so incredible throughout this journey of getting Scatterlings, from being a manuscript into an actual book that people are appreciating so much. And now I get to win awards like these. And I'd also like to thank Nadia Gautam, who sadly passed away earlier this year. She was just such a joy to work with, and I'd like to dedicate this award to her. And I'd like to thank the Wright Associates and the South African Literary Awards and the Department of Arts, Sports and Culture, and everyone who feels like they had a hand in getting this book where it is today. Just thank you.
One of my favorite English poems is the Villanelle One Art by Elizabeth Bishop. The Art of Losing isn't hard to master. Eddie Cruz is dedicated to Ryan Farmer, my best friend and soulmate I lost in 2019. Today, exactly a year ago, I received news that my grandfather was no longer with us. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Today, however, I do not have to master the art of losing, and I am beyond grateful. I know Ryan and my dad are looking down on me with pride. I'd like to thank the Wright Associates as the founder and the custodian of the South African Literary Awards. I'd also like to thank the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture as the strategic partner of the South African Literary Awards since inception. Thank you.
The nominees for the 2021 Casey Lodeker Memorial Award are As die Cape Flats kon praat. This debut short story collection by Fredericks consists of 9 short stories. Although each story can be read alone, the stories form a close unit. They depict the senseless, endemic violence on the Cape Flats, including gang violence, rape, and drug abuse. The author is a skilled storyteller. Different perspectives with concomitant variation in language usage contribute to the literary variety of the material. Characters are portrayed credibly. This is a polished collection especially for a debut. An Island by Karen Jennings. An Island is a brave novel Jennings authored. There's something psychological about how the story is narrated from the perspective of the old man character who lives alone in an island with a lighthouse. For a country such as South Africa, reading the story often feels like the lighthouse was Robben Island. And for some time, the reader finds themselves walking a mile in the shoes of a loner on a small island. Jennings' portrayal of the islander as self-exiled evokes feelings of Stockholm Syndrome and can denote situations people find themselves in and find comfort when they shouldn't. An Island can be a story about comfort zone and why it does not advance anyone. The plot is multi-layered and engaging. This book is breaking new ground in the exploration of a single setting. It ticks all the boxes for a book Casey Lodeker would write. Yapakyalaka ipopile, by Lihle Sokapase. It's common to hear assertions that churches or Christians do not embody Ubuntu, which is an African philosophy of life. The author of this narrative has been sensitive enough to challenge and confront this matter. Ubuntu is absent in church. More than anything, the text is opening a very controversial debate and a sensitive matter. Young girls being married to older men is another impressive aspect that needs to be heavily debated in South Africa. African and Euro-Western religions are challenged. The text meets the literary merits while mindful of language, style, and creativity. The language that is used not only is acceptable in terms of quality, but is sensitive enough to address the issues affecting churches, Christianity, and society at large. And the winners are As die Cape Flats kon praat by Brian Fredericks, An Island by Karen Jennings, and Yapakyalaka ipopile by Lihle Sokapase.
It is indeed an honor and a privilege to win the Casey Lodeker Memorial Literary Prize. I want to thank the Wright Associates as the founder and the custodian of the South African Literary Awards, SALA in the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. DSAC is a strategic partner of the South African Literary Awards since inception. My heartfelt thanks to the NB publishers and the Rousseau and the Lekende Jager. It's an honor to win a prize that bears the name of a great writer. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to the Wright Associates and the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture for honoring me with this award. It means a great deal to me personally to be recognized in South Africa, as above all else, I am a South African writer. I would also like to thank my publishers, Karina from Caravan Press in South Africa and Robert from Holland House Books in the UK, for believing in an island when no one else did. Thank you very much.
Ndiyavuya uba ndizawubulisa namhlanje i-Right Association nabantu bonke aba-involved kwi-Right Association. Ndingababulisa bonke. Ndibulise ne-Department of Arts and Culture ukuseka the initiative. Ndithi usebenzile, especially wena ngqongqoshe, wena minister. Ndiyabulela kakhulu. Ebona kwethu ndiqalela ubulela nomama wam obendikhuthaze esithi I can actually do this thing nomzoli naye ibe ngomnye wabo bantu ben-encourageayo wade wabhala endilungiselela isiphene encwadini yam. Ndiyabulela kakhulu man. Inkosi.
The nominees for the 2021 Poetry Award are Dimiethestare Eslankal Duot by Johan de Lange. A brilliant anthology. Johan de Lange's collection of poetry is a classic work in Afrikaans. The poet deals with language in a particularly ingenious way. This book is indeed a work of literary art. De Lange is a unique voice in Afrikaans poetry, and his verses are perfectly finished and stylistically impeccable. There's no poetic form over which de Lange does not have full control. He makes particularly good use of poetic forms from classical Greek and Roman literature, as well as Western cultures. He incorporates a surprisingly large variety of poetic forms in this particular volume of poetry. Kwanobuhle Overcast by Ayanda Billy. Kwanobuhle Overcast employs various poetic tools to bring to the attention of a reader this little-known township outside Gqeberha. Through reading the collection, Kwanobuhle becomes a township worth knowing. Ayanda Billy is a veteran poet whose work has featured in a plethora of anthologies, among them Timbila and Cortez. In this collection, Billy's poetic style is penetrating and engaging. Almost all the poems that make up this collection come with a kick to the gut that keeps a reader glued to the collection. It's addictive. Kwanobuhle Overcast is a beautiful collection containing poems narrated with honesty and truth. Hlahlindlela Nohombile by Babalwa Faki. This is a praise poem with characteristics providing imagery and is a form of storytelling about the person. The title alone indicates that the person being praised is of importance. That is seen by the way of salutation, and in isiXhosa, it's called ukukahlela, and that form of salutation is usually given to anyone of royal lineage, of importance, or of the interest of the writer, and in most cases about gratitude. The salutation is a form of respect. Since the praise poem tells a story of a particular individual, the author has used all the metaphors and comparisons. Importantly, praise poetry is written with bold imagery, expressed in the most distinct or carefully selected language, such as the one the author of this collection chose. The author has used images to advance the meanings of the poems, which is an innovative and contemporary tool to further represent the true essence of the AmaXhosa culture and traditions. Ituteng Mogolokwani by Khwadi Khwadi. Ituteng Mogolokwani is a Setswana poetry presentation. The sentences used in the poems read easily and fluently, accompanied by rhythm and rhyming. The poet is not afraid to use poetic license, employing fanagalo, slang, and loanwords. Khwadi Khwadi has an exceptional skill where he succeeds to use several poetic devices in one stanza. He describes things in nature in a humorous manner, compelling the reader to use his or her own imagination. The poems about clans and Barolong kings are spontaneous and equal those of a bard. He is one of a few poets in Setswana to include a dialogue in a poem. It shows someone who is observant of his community and who knows his culture very well. Konadzeo by Ndanduleni Muraudzi. The author's orthography and the themes of various poems are good and quite interesting. They include epic, elegy, sonnet, satire, lyric, and protest poems. The poems are about day-to-day life activities, deliberating about education, Christianity, crime, human behavior, wealth, awareness of various things like diseases, envy, relationships, and life challenges. When reading poems, you come across various figures of speech like simile, personification, hyperbole, metaphor, irony, sarcasm, eclipses, as well as onomatopoeia. Nzeko wa Vutshila by Floyd Ritomakondo. Floyd Ritomakondo's Nzeko wa Vutshila is his first ever literary work, and he has written this book to encourage, educate, and promote the development of Xitsonga. He is already showing passion, and with time, he will improve in his journey as a writer. Most of his poems address current issues that people face, such as violence, abuse of women and children, diseases, political landscape, cultural and religious issues. Jama Afrika by Tshepiso Magolwane. This collection of poems covers various aspects of life, including discrimination, oppression of women, conciliation, cooperation, and family relations. Looking at these aspects critically, one is forced to argue that the author is modern. The writer's mind is in line with the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, as evidenced in poems such as Sello sa Mosadi, Ke gore ke Mosadi. When reading these poems, one is fully convinced that the author is actually concerned with poetry and not a novel, as is the case with other writers. Respect of poetic devices is paramount in this collection. The style of the poet is enhanced by the use of alliteration. The writer's choice of poetry type is not restricted to one category. A variety of poems are used, such as sonnet, protest poetry, and heroic poems. The winners are Die meeste sterre is langer duurt by Johan de Lange, Kwanobuhle Overcast by Ayanda Billy, Hlahlindlela Nohombile by Babalwa Faki, Ituteng Mogolokwane by Gwadi, Konadzeo by Ndanduleni Muraudzi, and Jama Afrika by Tshepiso Magolwane.
Die digter T.S. Eliot het die skryf van gedigte as 'n ondraaglike worsteling met woorde en betekenisse beskryf. 'n Stryd wat jy dikwels verloor. Soms kry jy die oorhand, maar net tydelik. Die skryf van gedigte word gemeet meer aan nederlaag as oorwinning. Die toekenning van hierdie prys beteken straks dat ek vir 'n oomblik kan ontspan en my boksmaat kan bedank vir 'n onthoubare stryd. Ek wil ook my dank uitspreek vir die paneel wat my bundel waardig gevind het vir bekroning en vir raadgenote as stigter en opsigter van SALA, as ook hulle strategiese vennoot, die Departement van Sport, Kuns en Kultuur. Baie dankie.
Good day or good evening. Thank you to the SALA Awards and the organizers of the event for being a winner of 2021 in poetry category. Thank you for this award in these times of distress. And also I would like to say thank you to my publisher for nominating me to come forward with my work. Thank you to my wife also for appreciating and to tolerate me about this madness of arts. Thank you everyone. Poetry to me is it's life, it's everything. It's what I know, it's what I love, it's what I live. Thank you for the award.
Greetings to all the esteemed guests. I'm so much grateful to be receiving this Poetry Award 2021 from the South African Literary Awards for my book, Hlahlindlela Nohombile. The book was funded by National Heritage Council and it was endorsed by the Jumba Traditional Council. I thank Chief Nokaka Jumba for ensuring that the villagers participated and we all worked together in unity in capturing the essence of our value systems, which are mostly embedded in our indigenous languages. The book was also produced in a CD and a video, in the form of videography. I would not be standing here today if it were not for the Rice Associates, who are the founders and the custodians of the South African Literary Awards. I would also like to thank the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture as the strategic partner of the South African Literary Awards. Thank you so much for this recognition.
Let me hasten to say I am humbled to note that my book, Itutem Mogolokwane, has been noted for this year's SALA Awards. I just don't know how I can thank the Right Associates as the originators and custodians of the South African Literary Awards. How can I forget the National Department of Sport, Arts and Culture as the strategic partners since the advent of the SALA. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. Lastly, let me thank Mulebati Joseph Busilung and Kabelo Duncan Khatia of Penaboselo, who have become my launching pads. Thank you.
Ngamazina ndinanduleni urauzi vachikombona ndi afanoni ndingantsani ore ndova mumwe wa vamwali uya mwara bhuku ya zvendo inenga ngadzina yafi khona dzeo ndi tikadova akundaliwana vanoni va South African Literary Awards vevakono unanga vukati havamwevo venda ndikutarisana navo khabhuku dzadhana uchikodzodya bhuku tharu hanepo yanga yawanara ichikowera vukati yayedzo ngori vova vachikosedza vuleme ya zvine bhuku ya amba ndadwa ndaliwana Departments of Arts and Culture iye yakono mveledzisa usvika nepo ichidova yanitakurera navakororo vivasintongere vampa mavhu ndadzura vari ndiyavusesa zvino vachikufana vakororo press ichikwambirwa nganesa mudhudhi wayo.
I'd like to send my sincerest regards to everyone. I am Tepiso Magolwane. I feel incredibly honored to have won the South African Literary Award in the poetry category, yet I'm a first-time published author. I therefore thank everyone who believed in me and helped me throughout the journey to realize my dream of becoming an award-winning author. Most importantly, I thank Themba Emmanuel Mashobani for nominating me and convincing me to give this remarkable opportunity a try. Once more, I thank my mentor, including the Right Associates, which is the founder and custodian of the South African Literary, and also the National Department of Sport, Art and Culture, as the strategic partner of the South African Literary Awards since inception. You all have made my dream come to life. For that, I'll forever be grateful.
The nominees for the 2021 Nadine Godima Short Story Award are The Reluctant Storyteller, a collection of stories by Naganjani Sbiya. Naganjani Sbiya is a successful writer of literature in various genres in his mother tongue of isiZulu. He's a prolific writer and multiple award winner. The Reluctant Storyteller, a collection of stories, is his first attempt at producing literary works in English, and he has outdone himself. His short stories are set in believable settings and tackle issues that speak to everyday people. Without knowing which stories inspire Sbiya, one observes his dabbling into various styles that keep his narrative fresh and engaging. There are moments when he flirts with Greek tragedy genre, made famous by the story of Oedipus. The Reluctant Storyteller, a collection of stories, brings in a new style and is pioneering the freshness of the author's voice. Mhlalachi by Madoda Ndlakuse. The author understands the importance of quality, and his short stories represent that and indeed are in the same quality as the ones of well-known writers in the isiXhosa literature, such as P.T. Mtuze and others. Their writing style is vibrant, youthful and contemporary, with terms like Eitahola Majents as an opening line, whilst it also sticks to the orthographic rules of isiXhosa in terms of the use of acceptable terminology. And the winners are The Reluctant Storyteller, a collection of stories by Naganjani Sbiya, and Mhlalachi Bai by Madoda Ndlakuse.
My name is Naganjani Sbiya. I'm excited that my book, debut collection of short stories entitled The Reluctant Storyteller, has been shortlisted for this award. I would like to thank my family, my friends, fellow readers and fellow authors for their interest and appreciation of my book. And I would like to thank the organizers of this award. Right Associates for their role in encouraging and showcasing literary endeavors in South Africa. And I would also like to thank the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture for their role, invaluable role indeed, since the inception of this South African Literary Awards. I thank you.
Molweni nonke, my name is Madoda, the surname Ndlakuse. I am so excited about the South African Literary Award, especially after being nominated on the Nadine Godima Short Story Awards, ngenxa yencwadi yami, which is Mhlalachi Bai. I would love to take this opportunity to say thanks to the organizers of the awards, the Right Associates, for putting together, this incredible work, and of course their strategic partner, which is the Department of Sports and Arts and Culture, for always, supporting these guys for the wonderful work that they are doing. And of course, I would love to bandibulele into zakuthi kumzulu umntaka Mavimbela umhleli wami uSive Xhelo, my illustrator, as well as uFrank Noonan from Right On Publishing ngenxa yokundixhasa. Ngingaba ndenzanga nto bangaba nakuyibulela ifamily yami ngokunjalo nabaxhasi nabalandeli bomsebenzi wami endiwenzayo. Enkosi kakhulu. This is not about me. Of course, this is about promoting the culture of reading and writing, especially in mother languages. Thank you so much, Madoda.
The nominees for the 2021 Creative Non-Fiction Award are Masibuyelembo, Gonagele Pina by Mzoli Mavimbela. A number of scholars have problematized the distortion of isiXhosa traditions and customs. The present generation often asks about the significance of traditions and customs, and the team is optimistic that this narrative provides some of the answers to the many existing questions. Needless to say, this is a well-researched book that embodies literary stylistics and making a great contribution in the field of isiXhosa research while possessing literary elements. Specifically, few scholars have researched the cultural aspect under isiXhosa, and as such, these kinds of productions should be appreciated. The language used is appropriate and suitable for the work of this kind, as well as a structure. The text is written in an academic register of isiXhosa, with a few instances of colloquialism. As expected from a creative nonfiction, the author has made use of in-text references, where he cites bodies of work from other authors. The book also has a glossary list with foreign terms from other languages, and terms that some may deem difficult to understand, and also includes a bibliography and a table of contents. Sol Plaatje, A Life in Letters by Sabata Mpomukai and Brian Whelan. In this new and continuing study of Plaatje, two researchers and academics, Mukai and Whelan, have unearthed hidden treasures that best explain Plaatje for the all-round activist he was. Sol Plaatje, A Life in Letters, is a complete compilation of letters Plaatje wrote in both Setswana and English. They are published in this collection with an emphasis on context and clarity, explaining Plaatje's thoughts and conversation during his time in Mahikeng and other places. The found 260 private letters are dated, translated and explained in a way that adds another layer to the understanding of Blackie as a literary figure and visionary. The book has a comprehensive bibliography and index that assists readers to understand sources for the work and to assist in further studying of Blackie. It's a beautiful book for the future. It's not only a South African story, but a story for the continent. And the winners are Masibuyelembo, Gonagele Pina, by Mzoli Mavimbela, and Sol Blackie, A Life in Letters, by Sabata Mpomukai and Brian Willen.
Molweni Mzansi Afrika, lo thethayo ngumzoli Mavimbela, ndilapha eGeorge, ndingwase-Port St John, umbhali. Ndiyabulela kakhulu ngelunga ndilifumene kwa-South African Literary Awards namhlanje. Bebambisene no-Right Associates, no-Arts and Culture National, Sports and Recreation. Ithetha kakhulu elunga kangangento yobana le ncwadi izawuvuselela kakhulu isidima sikaXhosa, amasiko nezithethe zethu azawuthi aphuhle. Ndiyambulela umpapasho wam uMpho weWeza Home Publishing House ngokwenza uba ilibone ilanga lencwadi. Ndizawukhuthazeka ndibhale more books to revitalize and instill i-dignity yesiXhosa sethu ne-culture yethu singamaXhosa. Kwanga ndingaqhubeleka ninike nabanye ababhali abasakhasayo i-opportunities ezifana nezi. La mawonga abaluleke kakhulu ukuthi singababhali must be recognized, siqhubeleke more ukubhala ezinye iincwadi. Enkosi kakhulu.
My name is Sabata Mpomukai. I'm co-editor of Salty Blackie, A Life in Letters, alongside Professor Brian Willen, my colleague. This book took us about 7 to 8 years to put together as we had to source Sol Blackie's letters from all over the continents. We want to thank the adjudicators of the South African Literary Awards for believing that this book is worthy of this honor. The managers of the South African Literary Awards, the Right Associates, for being so resilient, and with the support of the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture for bringing us these very important awards. We want to thank our publishers, Historical Publications, Southern Africa, for publishing this book, as well as the readers for receiving the book so warmly. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Brian Willen, co-editor with my colleague Sabata Mpomukai of Salty Blackie, A Life in Letters, and we're honoured and delighted to receive this award. Now, Sol Blackie is one of the truly great figures in South Africa's history and its literature, so it's been a huge privilege to have been able to work together on this book, and our hope is that it'll help to make his remarkable life with all its struggles and achievements much better known than it is. So thank you, South African Literary Awards, to Right Associates, to the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, and to all the judges for making this possible. Historical Publications Southern Africa, our publisher, have produced a beautiful book, so it's their award too. And finally, thank you, Sabata. We spent many hours together on this book, and now we're on to the next one. Thank you again.
The nominees for the 2021 Literary Translators Award are Imbali Zamandulo by Jeff Opland and Peter Tim Tuze. Old writings of isiXhosa are hard to find. In some libraries, the access to these writings is mostly given to researchers and is not easily accessible to the general public. Other books are no longer being printed, and with the recent outcry about the condition of one of the oldest publishing houses in history, books of this kind are important. It's evident that these stories were written when the language was in its early years of development as compared to what it looks like today. The kind of work that is being done with these historical texts is very important, especially for purposes of research for those in archival, historical, and language preservation fields. This body of work will definitely influence a variety of research, especially in the budding field of digital humanities. The authors used literal translation to keep to the original essence of the text. Ufaisal Nenkwenkwezi by Xolisa Guzula. The translation is created such that it looks like the original text. In other words, the translator was able to draw the original into the source text. The translation carries the same emotions as the original text does, thus making the former to be good and be able to be read by children in the same way as it would be by those that speak the source language. The translation devices of literal translation are used correctly and are mindful of differences between these two languages. Thus, it is not a direct translation. The text is translated in a way that the meaning is kept and is the same in both the source and the targeted language. And the winners are Imbali Zamandulo by Jeff Opland and Peter Tim Tuze.
I'm grateful to the Wright Associates and the DSAC for their support of the South African Literary Awards and for their encouragement of the literary arts. I'm honored to accept this, my 5th award, my 3rd in collaboration with Professor Peter Mtuze. All the volumes in the series, of which Imbali Zamandulo is the 8th, have exacted demands in the quest to transmit faithfully the sense and sensibilities of writers who lived in previous centuries and who spoke a language rooted in the rural and natural world. But for this one in particular, the process proved a sheer delight. From start to finish, Professor Mtuze and I worked in sympathetic understanding. His limitless energy and dogged determination to seek a mutually satisfactory version of these historical records proved to be the highlight of our 50-year association. I salute him as a true gentleman, a rigorous scholar, and a faithful friend. Nkosi amazwi. Thank you.
Acceptance speech by Peter Mtuze. Program Director, honored guests and colleagues, I'm overwhelmed by being so honored as to receive this prestigious award. I also wish to congratulate my colleague, Jeff Opland, for his role in this achievement. May I take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the following. Firstly, the Wright Association as the founder and custodian of the South African Literary Awards, SALA. Secondly, the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, DSAC, as the strategic partner of the South African Literary Awards since inception. Without their commitment to the cause of advancing our literary heritage, we would not have gathered here today and on similar previous occasions to celebrate our achievements. Thank you very much. Diabulela. Kia lebucha. Ngiyabonga. Bayadanki.
The nominees for the 2021 Novel Award are Anspreeklikheid by Jaco Forshey. The sycophantic front, projected by the protagonist, Jaco Deel, belies the growing darkness exuding from his inferred, suspected, and eventually graphically enacted deeds of destruction. Deel is writing a book based on the French Minister of Police at the time of Napoleon, who earned the nickname the Butcher of Lyon. Deel takes on the liability of death. He forsakes his manuscript. The most haunting aspect of this book lies in the dichotomy between religious ethics and demonic butchery. The narrator is very attuned to his natural surroundings, carefully delineating the sights and sounds in his immediate vicinity throughout the story. Zachika Izinto by Ezra Mcebisi Nkohla. The author has used good stylistics in presenting the events. The use of the terminology list at the bottom, which explains difficult concepts or translating terms from other languages other than isiXhosa, is very instrumental also for the further development of isiXhosa terminology. The very first part of the novel attracts and grabs the reader's attention. There's an action before cause, which is one of the literary theories often used by isiXhosa writers. The story presents a male-dominated society. For instance, men are depicted superior and powerful than women. This is the reason one of the male characters uses alcohol to access women. It's not just alcohol, but it's what it represents in youngest girls. The girl is 13 years old, and the man is old enough to be the girl's father. Statutory rape becomes another point of interest in the text, especially in a South African context, where sexual violence remains a sensitive issue. Throughout the novel, the reader is engaged on issues of language purification. For example, some scholars argue that an indigenous text should use pure language, while some critics oppose this assertion. Ngenxa Yemendi by Fred Khumalo. This is an incredibly well-written novel. It ticks all the boxes of novelty. This element of creativity was observed when the author introduced characters that were not in the Mendi in a believable manner. The story is unique and imaginative, yet it's easy to follow as it flows from the beginning to the end. There are enough details to make sense of the context of the setting. The book is aligned and written in such a way that a reader can imagine the historical context and not only make sense of it, but also apply it to the current world. Fred Khumalo creatively captures a variety of audiences with his creative imagination, storytelling ability, and well-expressed isiZulu language. Fred Khumalo took time to provide details in the story that keeps the reader informed, educated, and sometimes entertained. He evokes all sorts of emotions as one reads it, and this is a unique strength of the writer. Ziyakamana by Sipho Arkekezwa. It remains a problem that some children feel less loved when compared to their siblings. In simpler words, where there's no genuine love, there's a high possibility of conflicts and problems that could lead to critical damages and permanent scars to those who feel less loved. This was the first impression gathered from the text as it has been clearly presented. Among other things, the author uses the beauty of isiXhosa language and its literary devices in an impressive manner. For instance, the author uses terms that have become less common over the years, and in the process, definitions and explanations are provided. And the winners are Zachigizinto by Ezra Mcebisi Nkohla and Ngenxa Yemendi by Fred Khumalo.
My name is Ezra Mcebisi Nkohla. I am overwhelmed by this unique opportunity to be nominated for this prestigious SALA. Hence, am so grateful and accept nomination. Thanks to organizers of this event, and special thanks to Right Associates and to DCAC for this unique opportunity. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
It's an honor and a pleasure to have won this award in the novel category for my book, Ngenxa Yemendi. I would like to thank the Right Associates, who are the founders and custodians of the South African Literary Awards. Equally, extending my gratitude to the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, who are strategic partners in this great venture that is promoting and supporting South African literary expression. Thank you very much.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the recipient for the 2021 Literary Journalism Award is John Meiring for his body of work. This portfolio contains literary reviews in Afrikaans dailies, magazines or internet forums over the past 20 years. Meiring's journalistic style is unique. His contribution to the Afrikaans literary system in mainstream Afrikaans media is unmistakable. His portfolio contains 130 reviews, from which it is evident that his insights are sharp and constructive, and that he does not back down from expressing criticism, although always motivated. John Meiring makes an essential contribution to opening up the dialogue between South Africans. Chairperson's Literary Award. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairperson of the SALA Advisory Board, Professor Zodwa Mutsamadikane, to present the 2021 Chairperson's Literary Award recipient.
Good evening, Mzansi, Sanbonani, Molweni, Dumelang. Siyanbingelela. This is Professor Mutsamadikane, the chairperson of the board, of the SALA board. This evening, my task is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of those exciting moments in the literary calendar where we announce the Chairperson's Award. This person that I would like to present to you in 2021 as the Chairperson's winner of the award is a scholar of excellence. The person is an author and he is also a literary historian of note. He is the indisputable proponent of literary theories and founder of the literary movement that has now become a household name. It has housed so many icons in the literary galaxy for decades in Africa South. His new movement is a timeless philosophy that can frame the work of the African intelligentsia of many, many generations. We're talking about the likes of Mqhayi of KwaXhosa, Sol Plaatje waBatswana, H.I. Lomo wamaZulu, B.W. Vilakazi wamaZulu, uMazisi Kunene. I'm just naming a few who subscribe under this umbrella of the timeless philosophy of the new African movement. The works that are articulated by these writers actually enunciate the theory that this winner is known for. This is the movement with which our society can be identified, and it has been shaped, ladies and gentlemen. It is something of great, great, great honor for me, and I actually want, before I even announce him, I want to say to this departed son of the soil, usigaja sikampemvu, umpemvu kaphendwako, uphendwako kakhondo, ukhondo kamajama, masilela, sibonga sithini na, singabonga sithini. How can we thank you for what you have done for the literary history of South Africa? So, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Chairperson's Award for SALA 2021 is none other than Professor Ndongela Masilela. Siyabonga kakhulu. Thank you.
Siyabonga ngempela. To all the nominees and finalists this evening, warmest congratulations. These awards reflect the appreciation of your generosity in taking time to put your thoughts, experiences, and knowledge on paper to share with the whole world. We are truly grateful to you for inviting us into your personal spaces. We wish you all the best with your continued journey of writing. I would like to invite back on stage the Rights Associate and SALA Managing Director, Ntate Seakwa, to hand over.
The South African Literary Awards has this year nominated elder brother Lefifi Tladi for his sterling contribution to our arts, culture, and heritage. Armed with a painting brush and pen, like a surgeon's scalpel, Tladi has, for over 60 years, been the heartbeat of the South African society, nay more, of our continent and the world. Humorous, yet forthright, uncompromising, and deeply committed to the true liberation of the most oppressed. His poetic paintings and visual artistic verses in tongues from home and the world, he continues to stride in constant bravery and courage to take up, invent, and renew a myriad ways of doing art is yet to be paralleled. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and extreme pleasure to announce my elder brother, sage, seer, and masterclass, Lefifi Tladi, as the 2021 Lifetime Achievement Literary Award category winner of the South African Literary Awards. Thank you very much.
To take us through the significance of this prestigious award, this Regional Poet Laureate Award is a DG of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mr. Vusumuzi Mkhize.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight yet sets for us an amazing milestone. So, to the managing director, Baba Siakwa, and the board, I think we may be denied the opportunity to congratulate you in physical presence. But I think if it was possible, we will be really giving you a standing observation for the work you have done up to now. So I just want to first and foremost just acknowledge your vision about sustaining and promoting literary works in South Africa. It is really amazing that you have reached this milestone. What I would like to do is to really wish that you continue with this vision, with the board, with the right associates as a whole, in order for us as a country and as a region, in fact, achieve our success in making sure that the written word's power continues to influence our imagination and our creativity. So allow me to get to the speech that I have to deliver based on this majestic moment in the history of Right Associates. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight says yet another milestone in the history of SALA, when the 15th category, the Regional Poet Laureate Prize, is inaugurated. This broadens the National Poet Laureate Prize, which was announced on the 5th of March 2005 in eThekwini, KwaZulu-Natal province, when we bestowed the status of the first ever National Poet Laureate, or Imbongi Yesizwe Jikelele, on Professor Mazisi Kunene. The brainchild of Right Associates and supported by the EDCON Group and the National Department of Arts and Culture, then South African Literary Awards, recognized Professor Kunene for his selfless dedication to foreground and champion African literature, especially poetry in African languages. And this for him was in his mother tongue language, isiZulu. This collaborative effort between Right Associates and the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture is a good example of a public-private partnership for the advancement of the arts sector. The then minister had declared on this matter. So upon the passing of Professor Kunene, the baton was handed over to fellow activist artist, a poet par excellence and contemporary, Professor Kiarbeti Khositse, who the then minister also had said has more than earned this title. That was on the 8th of December 2006 in Mangaung, Free State. On the 7th of November 2018, after the transitioning yonder of Professor Khositse, the third South African National Poet Laureate Prize was bestowed on Professor Munganewali Serot. Like his previous two predecessors, one of South Africa's world-renowned scholars, authors, eminent yet unsung poets of majestic epics and literary genius. Ladies and gentlemen, the Poet Laureate is a significant figure in the arts and culture of our country and generally for any other nation. He or she advances the literary arts and culture by promoting a national appreciation of poetry through engaging programs and services. A vibrant and interactive series of community activities and a focus on initiatives which support and sustain cultural life of the country. In general, poet laureates serve to raise awareness at a national scale, albeit also at a global scale, and appreciation of poetry. Thus, ladies and gentlemen, SALA is proud to inaugurate the Regional Poet Laureate Prize. And it is my singular honor to have this opportunity to announce the recipients of the 2021 inaugural recipients of the Regional Poet Laureate.
The recipients of the inaugural Regional Poet Laureate Prize are Elda Kamfer for her body of work. Since her debut collection in 2008, Ronelda Kamfer continued to write groundbreaking poetry in Afrikaans. Initially, her poems were compiled as part of Nuwe Stemme 3. Ankie Kroch and Alfred Skefer, the compilers of this anthology, praise how she contributed to making the register of the Afrikaans language more comprehensive using gaps. Her latest poetry collection, Chinatown, was published in 2019 and shortlisted for the Elizabeth Aibas Prize. Kamfer does not shy away from writing about complex subjects such as poverty, gang violence, drug abuse, patriarchy, white privilege, and violence against women. For more than a decade, she has been one of the most critical and influential voices in the Afrikaans language. And Themba Patrick Magaisa for his body of work. TP Magaisa is a well-known Xitsonga writer who contributed immensely to the development of Xitsonga through his literary work. He gained recognition in various platforms for his contribution in the development of Xitsonga, which won him several awards, including a South African Literary Award. Xitsonga is a minority language in South Africa, and over the years, various authors and other custodians of the language strove to develop it by means of literary works. Magaisa rose as one of the prominent figures in literary workspace, despite the circumstances. He has written more than 13 books that are prescribed in schools where Xitsonga is offered, and his literary work includes Mehloti ya Tingana, Richard ya Mahlweni, Tsemba Ribye, Nzerete Kwihi, Nkunzumuko wa Vutomi, Ngudlu wa Miehleketo, and many others. Magaisa was recognized by Limpopo Arts and Culture Department for his contribution in the development of Xitsonga with an award. He was also recognized at the cultural event held in Bungeni in 2019. And last but not least, he was awarded the Order of Ikhamanga by the President of the Republic of South Africa in 2020.
Good evening. Firstly, it is an enormous honor and privilege to be one of the first recipients of this award. I hope this encourages young writers to write in their home languages. I would like to thank the South African Literary Awards, the Department of Sports, Art and Culture for this enormous honor. I would like to thank my publisher, Kwela Publishers, my loved ones, Nathan and Seymour, and a big, big thank you to all the readers who read my work and who's been with me on this journey. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm very much happy this evening about this great and wonderful award. A very precious award. To the Right Associate, the founder and the custodian of the South African Literary Award, and to the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, I would like to say to you, thank you for having us in your mind as writers. Thank you for being there for us. Thank you for encouraging us to continue writing. Thank you for the love and care that you are showing us. The kind of love that you are showing us, we never experience it anywhere. I thank you.
We are truly blessed with these talents, from writing to music. I am totally looking forward to another rendition of award-winning vocalist, award-winning, mind you, vocalist Lindiwe Maxolo. Please bless us, sis.
You won't admit you love me, and so how am I ever to know? You always tell me, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. A million times I've asked you, and then I asked you over again. The answer tell me, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. If you will not let me, you will never get further. But I don't want to wind up getting caught up, broken hearted. So if you really love me, say yes. And if you don't dare confess, but please don't tell me, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. Perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. If you really love me, you will never get tired of me. But I don't want to wind up being caught up, broken hearted. So if you really love me, say yes. And if you don't dare confess, but please don't tell me, perhaps, 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 perhaps,
Manabesu, to close the ceremony, I would like to invite the Deputy Chairperson.
SALA Program Director, Ms. Nonkululeko Britain Masikela, the Minister of Arts and Culture, Mr. Natim Mtetwa, well, in absentia, the Director, Mr. Musim Kize, all the officials from the Department of Arts and Culture who work tirelessly, support us in the delivery of the South African Literary Awards since the inception. My fellow members of South African Literary Awards Advisory Board, chaired by Professor Zodwa Motsa Madikani, and members include Mr. Goodenough Mashiko, Ms. Nonkosi Jolwani, and Mr. Muimise Mutsepe, participants of the 9th Africa Century International African Writers Conference that preceded the awards this morning, Program Director and Discussion Facilitator, Dr. Nokuthula Mazibuko Msimang, the main speaker, Professor Puleng Linga Bula, who delivered the 9th Africa International African Writers Day lecture, which was very informative. The respondents and discussants, Dr. Asante Mtenje and Mr. Eugene Skieff, the program director and facilitator, again of Dr. Nokuthula Mazibukomsimang, Professors Vuyisilem Sila and Marlies Taljaard, members of the Intellectual Content Development Panel of the Africa Century International African Writers Conference, Managing Director of the Write Associates, Project Director of both the South African Literary Awards, which is abbreviated as SALA, and the African Century International African Writers Conference, Mr. Murakabe Rax Siakwa, the manager of both the African Century International African Writers Conference and South African Literary Awards and Write Associates, Accounts Executive Director, Me Sindiswa Siakwa, honorable attendees to this August South African Literary Awards ceremony, virtually and otherwise, distinguished scribes and critics, esteemed members of the community of writers in the Republic of Letters, our revered and distinguished guests, the nominees and winners of SALA 2021 Award. Would like to thank you for your participation, which has been very successful and historical and distinguished and very illustrative to the South African scenario. This has been a milestone of 15 years of SALA. We would like to thank you for the participation, again I say, in this event. In the morning, during the day, and even now. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your acceptance. Thank you for your appreciation and the auspices of this award. Thank you very much.
With that, thank you for having me tonight and for all your attention. We thank all the finalists for everything that you've done to make this occasion actually happen with your talents. It is indeed my honor to be your program director tonight. And with this poem, a tribute to Mother Nature, I bow out. But before I do that, I would like to thank again the incredible SALA team, from the management to the technical team. Thank you for making this evening happen. Our mother, who arts all around us. Mama, me be your name. Your queendom has come, and your children will be fed on this earth, because this is our heaven. Give us today our daily sun rays of embraces and summer rain kisses. Forgive our brothers and sisters who bite on the nipple that feeds them breast milk. This is your Africa, if only you remain. If only you remember your power and rub it onto your children's wounds forever and ever. Ah, mama. Ah, mama.
You won't admit you love me, and so how am I ever to know? You always tell me, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. A million times I've asked you, and then I asked you over again. The answer tell me, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. If you would not let me, you will never get bothered. But I don't want to wind up getting kind of broken hearted. So if you really love me, say yes. And if you don't dare confess, but please don't tell me, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. Perhaps, perhaps, perhaps. If you really love me, you will never get tired of me. But I don't want to wind up being caught up, broken hearted. So if you really love me, say yes. And if you don't dare confess, but please don't tell me, perhaps, 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 perhaps.